Imagine this, you've just gotten your SNAP benefits for the month, and like always, you head to the grocery store to pick up the essentials: milk, bread, eggs, fresh vegetables. But this time, when you swipe your EBT card, the machine beeps, and the cashier quietly says, "Transaction declined." Suddenly, panic sets in. You know you just received your benefits. You know the balance should be there, but what you don't know is that your account has been flagged by investigators as part of a sweeping crackdown on food stamp misuse happening across the country. This isn't a hypothetical anymore. Right now, across multiple states, the government is tightening its grip on how SNAP benefits are being used, launching investigations that are leaving thousands of families nervous, confused, and in some cases, without access to food for days or even weeks. The federal government says this crackdown is about protecting taxpayer money and preventing fraud. But for millions of families who depend on food stamps to get by, the new wave of investigations feels like walking on thin ice, because even a small mistake, or worse, a computer error, could put their benefits in jeopardy. So today, we're going to dig deep into what exactly is happening with this nationwide SNAP investigation. We'll explore how the government is targeting misuse, what this means for families and stores who rely on EBT transactions, the technology and tools investigators are now using, and the very real consequences innocent people could face if they get caught up in the dragnet. And most importantly, we'll talk about what you can do to protect yourself and make sure your benefits don't get blocked, frozen, or taken away. To understand why the government is cracking down, let's step back for a moment. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Programs used to be called food stamps because, back in the day, families received actual paper coupons. Now, of course, it's all electronic, with benefits loaded onto an EBT card each month. More than 40 million Americans rely on SNAP. For many, it's the difference between putting dinner on the table and going hungry. The program is massive, costing taxpayers over $120 billion a year. With that much money flowing through the system, officials argue that fraud, even if it's just a small percentage, adds up to billions of dollars lost. And fraud does exist. Investigators have found cases where people trade their EBT benefits for cash, a practice called trafficking. Some stores have been caught swapping benefits for cigarettes, alcohol, or even outright cash. In certain cities, organized crime rings have used stolen or fake EBT cards to funnel money illegally. Then there's what the government calls soft fraud: recipients who fail to report income changes, understate how much they make, or give their card to someone else to shop on their behalf. Sometimes these mistakes are intentional. Other times, families simply don't understand the complicated rules. But either way, when it's discovered, it gets labeled as misuse. Now, here's where things are changing. The government has decided that the system can't keep bleeding money. And so, in 2025, new investigative measures are rolling out across dozens of states. These aren't just minor adjustments, these are aggressive, high-tech methods designed to detect fraud faster, lock down accounts quicker, and punish offenders more harshly. And that means if you use SNAP, you're likely already being watched more closely than ever before. One of the biggest tools being used is data tracking. States are deploying sophisticated algorithms that analyze every single EBT purchase. These programs look for patterns like someone spending their entire month's benefits in a single day, or repeatedly using their card far from home. Even small red flags, like too many failed PIN attempts or unusual shopping times, can trigger an automatic review. When the system spots something suspicious, accounts are often frozen first and investigated later. That means you could walk into a store one morning, swipe your card, and find yourself locked out with no warning at all. Another key piece of this crackdown is cross-checking. States are now comparing SNAP recipients' records against employment databases, tax filings, and even unemployment insurance records. The idea is to catch people who might be hiding income while still collecting benefits. For example, if someone is earning more than the eligibility limit but hasn't reported it, the system can flag that automatically. But here's the problem: data errors happen. Old records sometimes don't update quickly enough. And when those mismatches occur, honest families can find themselves caught up in an investigation they never expected. And then there's surveillance. In some areas, investigators are going undercover, posing as store clerks or shoppers, trying to catch illegal transactions in action. Others are installing hidden cameras in stores suspected of trafficking. These sting operations often target small convenience stores that make most of their profit from SNAP shoppers. For owners, One mistake or even being falsely accused can mean losing their ability to accept EBT forever, essentially destroying their business. The penalties for misuse are severe. Recipients found guilty can be banned from SNAP for years, sometimes permanently. In more serious cases, they can face hefty fines or even criminal charges that carry jail time. Retailers face the loss of their business license, massive financial penalties, and sometimes prosecution. The government makes it clear they're treating this like a crime, not a minor mistake. But here's where things get complicated. In the effort to root out fraud, countless innocent people are being swept into the net. For example, imagine a single mother who lets her elderly mother use her EBT card to pick up groceries because she's working a double shift. That's technically against the rules, and if the system flags it, she could lose her benefits. Or think about a family that moves to another state but takes a few weeks to update their address and income information. In the eyes of investigators, that delay looks like deception. Even something as small as buying non-eligible items by mistake, like hot prepared food at the deli counter, can draw unwanted attention. And then there are the computer errors. Multiple states have already admitted that their automated systems sometimes wrongly flag accounts, shutting down benefits for families who did nothing wrong. For those families, the wait to get reinstated can stretch for weeks, leaving them scrambling to find food while the investigation slowly clears their name. The bigger question is whether this crackdown is helping or hurting. On one hand, taxpayers demand accountability. With so much money in the system, fraud absolutely needs to be addressed. Nobody wants to see benefits abused. But on the other hand, SNAP exists for one reason: to keep families from going hungry. When investigations become so aggressive that they punish innocent mistakes and trap struggling families in red tape, the system risks failing the very people it was designed to protect. Some lawmakers are pushing for even tougher measures. Proposals include requiring photo IDs on all EBT cards, or even using biometric verification like fingerprints or facial recognition at grocery store checkouts. Supporters say these steps would almost eliminate fraud. Opponents argue that they would humiliate recipients, slow down transactions, and create yet another barrier for vulnerable families. Imagine having to explain to the person behind you in line while you're scanning your fingerprint just to buy groceries. This crackdown also raises questions of fairness. The majority of SNAP recipients are families with children, seniors, or people with disabilities. These are not groups looking to cheat the system, they're people trying to survive. Yet they're the ones who will bear the stress of stricter oversight. For many, the fear of losing benefits even temporarily creates constant anxiety. It turns what should be a lifeline into a source of worry. So what can families do to protect themselves in this new environment? The number one rule is documentation. Always keep your paperwork up to date. Report income changes right away, even if it's a temporary job or side hustle. Make sure your address and household information are accurate. Double check what items are eligible before buying. And most importantly, never lend your EBT card to anyone else, no matter how much you trust them. These may seem like small things, but in a system where the smallest red flag can trigger an investigation, they can make the difference between keeping your benefits and losing them. At the end of the day, the government's crackdown on food stamp misuse is a double-edged sword. On one side, it's about accountability, saving billions of taxpayer dollars, and protecting the integrity of the SNAP program. On the other side, it risks punishing honest families, creating unnecessary hardship, and fueling the stigma that already surrounds people who rely on assistance. For millions of Americans, SNAP isn't a luxury. It's the difference between dinner and an empty plate. It's the program that ensures children go to bed with full stomachs, that seniors don't have to choose between groceries and medicine, and that families can get through hard times with dignity. As this crackdown unfolds, the challenge will be finding the balance between fighting fraud and protecting those who truly need help. And for families across the nation, the message is clear: play by the rules, stay vigilant, and be prepared, because the government is watching more closely than ever.